want to welcome everyone. My name is Leslie Gould. I'm the president and CEO of the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce. I am so grateful that all of you are here this evening. We have a wonderful mix of chamber members and residents. I think that's great. So we hope more than anything that we learned something tonight, of course. I want to remind everyone that we have a mayoral forum next Friday, October 20th, here again at the Porthole. This will be a breakfast forum. Doors will open at 7:30, and the formal program will be from 8 to 9 a.m. Former Mayor of Revere, Dan Rizzo, will be our moderator. A reminder, this is big. We will be taking a few questions midway through this forum this evening. We want your questions from the audience. It's going to be in a lottery style. So there are blank sheets of paper and a pen at your table, okay? Write your question down, fold it up, and halfway through the event, and please make the, yep, and here comes Christine, our lovely Vanna, love it. We will put it in our quote-unquote fishbowl, if you will, and by lottery, John, or Mr. Suslak, will choose a question. Now, here's the thing. The question should be general. It should not be targeting one candidate specifically so that it's fair to all concerned, so please keep that in mind. But if there's an issue that is important to you, obviously we want to try and ask that question. If the question is really out there, we're gonna throw it away, okay, just so you know. But that's what we're gonna do, and we're hoping to take 3 or 4 of those. This forum tonight is an extension of our Government Affairs Committee meetings, and what we believe at the Chamber here is our core mission and responsibility to our business members to educate, empower, and enlighten based on the candidate's vision and leadership for the future of the city of Lynn that we all love. I really do want to thank the candidates. I'm really grateful that you're all here this evening. We've actually never done a free forum like this before. I really want to thank Pedro from Lynn TV. Yep, thank you, Pedro, taking his time this evening. I also want to thank Seth Albom, who has ensured our sound quality this evening and that every candidate is mic'd. So thank you, Seth. And now it's my honor and my privilege to introduce the former Chief of Police and now LACC board member and chair of our Government Affairs Committee, John Suslak, who will moderate this forum for this evening. It's really a pleasure to work and a privilege to work with John Suslak. He's quite a classy guy, so I'm really grateful to know you. So, Chief, take it away.
Thank you very much, Leslie, and thank you all for coming. What we hope is going to be a very interesting and productive discussion of important issues facing the city. A special thanks to our candidates. We have 8 candidates for 4 seats, Councilor at large, and all 8 are here this evening, so I think that says something about the quality of the candidates. Thank you, candidates, for being here. I want to spend a minute to talk about the format, how this is going to run. You notice we've talked about a candidate forum rather than a debate. We had talked about potentially having a debate, but with 8 people, it's really tough to do that, tough to manage it, tough to make sure that everybody has equal time. And that was kind of important to us. We wanted you to hear directly from the candidates in their own words for 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever, uninterrupted, what they feel about very important issues facing the city. So the goal here is not to trick anybody, to catch anybody. We've selected 3 principal areas we want to talk about this evening, and we've told the candidates in advance what they're going to be. They are public safety, economic development, and the city budget. We're going to start with each candidate introducing themselves, take 1 minute to introduce themselves and tell you why you should vote for them. We're then going to ask the candidates to take 2 minutes to talk about each one of the questions, and I'll pose the questions as we go. We'll start with a different candidate each time to try and spread it out a little bit. At the conclusion of that, as Leslie said, we're going to be taking 3 questions, or perhaps 4 if we have enough time, from the audience. Random questions that are of general interest, hopefully, to all the candidates, because each candidate's going to have a minute to respond. If you direct it to one candidate, every candidate's going to have a chance to 1 minute to respond. So that's important. Leslie's going to be our timekeeper this evening, as she's told the candidates already. She's going to give a sign up here, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and time. I haven't confirmed this yet, but Leslie tells me she has the power of arrest if they run over, so we'll have to see about that. I'm sure that won't be an issue.
It doesn't surprise me.
We encourage all the candidates to be as specific and detailed as possible, and not just identifying the issues or the problems facing the city, but obviously proposing practical solutions to them. The Chamber, the LACC, is not endorsing any candidate. That's a choice that's totally up to you. Okay, I think that's about it for the format. So with that, let's begin. The first part we'll do, as I said, is a 1 minute introduction by each one of the candidates introducing themselves and I'm sure asking for your vote. So we're going to start. My right to left. Buzzy?
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting this forum on. My name is Buzzy Barton, for those of you that don't know who I am. I've lived in the city of Lynn all my life. Everything I have done in life is to help people. I was a firefighter for 28 years, and I'm used to giving to people. I coached high school basketball, boys and girls at Lynn English High School. My mother, she said, always taught me that if you don't like the way something is, get involved and change it. So that was one of the reasons why I got into politics, because I wanted to get involved and help, and I knew being a city councilor, you could do it on a bigger scale. So thank you for having me, and good luck to all the rest of the candidates.
Brian Field?
Thank you, John. Thank you to the Chamber, and thank you all for being here this evening. Sorry. My name's Brian Field. I'm a lifelong resident of Lynn. I was born, when I grew up on Grant Road. My parents are still up in Ward 1. And now I live in Ward 7. Married to Stephanie Messenger. Just celebrated our 17th anniversary last Saturday. We have 3 children. And for the past 20 years, I've been serving as a funeral director at the Solomini Funeral Home. And as I look out around the room, I see a lot of the families that I have made a difference personally. Some that don't even know that I did help, and that's really what my background is. I'm here to make a difference. I know I can make a difference, and I'm here to help. I'm making myself available. My family's making me available to use those relationships and that experience that I have to help make a difference in the city that I love. And I think that every candidate here loves, and they're making themselves available. So thank you again for being here this evening.
Jamie Figueroa?
All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. All right. So I was born an American citizen in Puerto Rico on a January day in 1989. I was moved here when I was 8 months old. For half of my childhood, I was raised in Boston South End, where we eventually were displaced in the year 2000 because of their economic development and urban renewal. We did some bouncing around and ended up in Lynn in 2003. I attended classical high school and eventually went on to North Shore Community College. After North Shore, I received a scholarship to go to Suffolk University, where I'll be graduating in December cum laude with a business degree and a concentration in marketing and real estate development. Last year, I was fortunate enough to work in Boston Planning and Development Agency, where I gained firsthand experience in urban renewal projects and public property management. I'm running to be your next counselor at large to apply my experience with life, Boston Planning and Development Agency, my education, to improve the city's economic health, investment, and development. To fully fund public safety agencies and our school department and make sure we make the necessary infrastructure investments to support the development needed to make Lynn profitable. And thank you all for being here tonight.
Rick Ford?
Thank you, Leslie, and members of the Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Rick Ford. I'm a lifelong resident of Lynn, Massachusetts. I've spent the majority of my career working as a public servant in the Commonwealth. I retired after 24 years with the Mass Gaming Commission and 10 years earlier with General Electric. My goals were always, as councilor, to listen to the constituents' concerns, provide them with assistance, and keep them informed on local topics. I'm a proud graduate of Lynn Vocational Technical Institute, class of '75. I've been happily married to my wife, Tina, for 35 years. My daughter, Erin Sheehan, my son-in-law, Eric Sheehan, and granddaughter, Madison Sheehan, are also Lynn residents. My son, Joe, is a teacher in the Lynn Public School System, and my youngest son, Richard, is currently deployed as an active duty naval officer. He's out to sea right now. I have spent my entire life coaching, umpiring, refereeing, always trying to help with constituent concerns, whatever it may be. And I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
John Ladd?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Most of you in the room know me business-wise, personally, or through the chamber. and it's nice to see everybody tonight, and I appreciate all the turnout for such a great forum. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Ladd. I've been a lifelong resident of Lynn. I'm a business owner in Lynn and have been selling real estate in the city for approximately 15 years. I've been a member of the Lynn Chamber for several years and also a member of the North Shore Association of Realtors. I'm hoping over the next few hours you'll leave here with a solid understanding of my goals and views for the city if elected. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Leslie and the Chamber for putting this event together tonight. Also Chief Suslek, I still call you Chief. Chief Suslek for moderating this evening. And as a resident and business owner and not a candidate but a voter in the city, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the at-large incumbents. Though we may agree or disagree or have different views on certain questions tonight, I'd like to thank you all for your years of service and for the dedication to the city. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be sitting here with all of you. Thank you.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Thank you, Chamber. Thank you, Leslie. My name is Brian LaPierre, and I'm a husband, a father, an educator, a taxpayer, a neighbor, and a community leader. I got into this, and I ran in 2015, and I'm really thrilled by the outcome, and it's the hardest job I've ever had, and I work very hard at it each and every day. I feel I'm a new, innovative leader for Lynn. I'm still new. Brian, I work sort of tirelessly to bring the city of Lynn to new heights by listening, learning, and then taking action. I've been helping Lynn all my life through teaching, working, being involved in my city and my community. I'm getting the job done for everyone. I'm a tireless worker and an advocate for our city. I bring a different approach to city government. I care about people and their quality of life in Lynn. I want to attract hardworking families and new businesses to Lynn and make sure we have adequate public safety personnel and equipment for our DPW, our police, and fire departments, which while continuing to keep our taxes affordable to the average homeowner. And I look forward to speaking to you more about that throughout the evening. Thank you, everyone.
Hongnet.
Hi everyone, so nice to see you all. Thank you Leslie and the LACC for hosting this debate. My name is Hongnet. I came to Lynn almost 20 years ago. I'm married and have 2 children who are in the Lynn public schools. My wife and I bought our first home in this city, and I graduated from UMass Amherst with a BA in political science. I work for the state, and I work as the child support enforcement specialist at Department of Revenue. I serve on board of the YMCA Metro North, Credit Union, Lysol, and many more. Actually, I'm running for at-large again because I care about the city. I love the city. I want to continue to work alongside you to make our city better for all of us. And also, I want to continue to work with my colleagues and the mayor and all of you to strengthen public safety, education, economic growth. So I respectfully ask for your vote today. Thank you.
Tasso Nikolakopoulos.
I'm a little short, so I'll stand. Good evening. Thank you. Mr. Suslak, Leslie, I feel like I'm back home with the LACC. This is where it started 7 years ago. I was the one rattling the cage, asking the difficult questions. My name is Tasso Nikolakopoulos. I was born in Greece, moved here in 1974 with my family. I'm very humbled to say I married my childhood sweetheart. She's here tonight. I have 2 wonderful children, Mia and George. I'm the owner of John's Roast Beef. I was once the former chairman of the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, vice chairman of My Brother's Table, and chairman of the Off-Street Parking Commission. What I want to do, for the last 7 years, I've heard experts come into the city and lead us and write the blueprint and tell us what we need to do. It's not me, it's what the experts are saying. And that's the plan I want to carry out. We're the largest city in the state without a planning department, the largest city in the state without a planner. We don't have grant writing. I want to professionalize our government. I want to generate revenue. I want to be creative to generate revenue, not be creative to raise your taxes. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
We're now going to move to the questions portion of the program. We'll start with Brian Field. We'll move down and then circle around to Buzzy. First question. Public safety is always a concern for both businesses and residents. What do you see as the principal public safety concerns facing our city, and how would you address these concerns as a councilor at large? Each candidate will have 2 minutes to address that question.
Thank you, John, for the question. Just talking with folks all around the city, public safety is a serious concern. And just talking with the chief today, we're down huge numbers. We're down to 164 police officers within the city. Within 2 years, there's going to be another 30 that are eligible to retire, and almost a third of the population of the police force is 50 years or older. So we haven't replaced what we have. We are just the other day we reached our 50th overdose death in the city, and I look out today and I see Muriel here. I know she was here earlier, and to think about 12 murders in the suicide in the city this year compared to 4 and 2 over the past couple of years, it's concerning. Cuts to public safety have a trickle-down effect. Crime rate might be down overall, but with overdose deaths and murders, we scare off a lot of good families from staying here in the city. We scare off a lot of families looking to invest in the city, and it scares off a lot of businesses that are wishing to invest in the city. And and overall, it has a negative. Cuts to public safety. So far, we've lost a traffic division. We've lost warrant task force. We've lost CLTs, SROs, special investigations units. These are all key to keep those targeted areas of crime down. And cuts to public safety is a loss of investment into our city.
Jamie Figueroa.
Sorry, we're sitting too far away from these mics. So, public safety. Well, over the last year, we have seen an increase of 300% in murders alone. And that's due to obviously a lack of funding that our public safety officials see here in the city of Lynn. Again, talking to Chief Majeri the other day, I've noticed that the murder rate is not only up 300%, but so are overdoses and petty crime. It takes them 3 to 4 hours just to get to a domestic disturbance, and that's sad. In a city of 100,000 people, we shouldn't have a police force of only 160 people. We should be a mirror image of that of Cambridge, who has a police force of 220 people and are fully funded. And not only fully funded, but they invest into their public safety with new programs, new training, new cars, and new initiatives to continue to keep our streets safe. And that's exactly what we need to do here in Lynn. Not only do we need to fully fund public safety, but we need to be investing in it, bringing on more squads, bringing on more help. We lost our Essex County Sheriff's Department patrol from the weekend patrol a couple years ago. We need to bring that back. We need to bring back community policing, and we need to definitely bring back our school resource officers who are so desperately needed in our Lynn public school system. I visited Classical the other day, and it saddened me to see that our school resource officers are no longer in our Lynn public school systems. That needs to be addressed today and not tomorrow. We need to get back, the new city council needs to get there, readjust our budget so we're fully funding public safety organizations, and we are fully funding, and not only that, but investing in them. To bring on more officers, we should have 220 officers, not 160. We should have patrolmen, warrant squads, drug task force, and we are -2 of those. We don't have a drug task force right now. We don't have a warrant squad. They're out in uniforms doing traffic patrol. That's sad. We need to get back to Lynn to where it was a couple years ago when all crime was down, not just petty theft and not just petty crimes. Let's fully fund our public agency and invest in it. Thank you.
Rick Ford.
Thank you. Throughout my tenure as Lynn City Councilor, I was a boisterous supporter for all of City of Lynn's first responders. A couple of examples during my time as City Councilor, I was a strong supporter for saving the Lynn Fire Department's Engine 9 on Tower Hill Station. At that time, I was adamant the station needed to remain open and protect the neighborhoods of West Lynn. At that time, I disagreed with the mayor with the mayor, his approach in dealing with the department and the firefighters Local 739. In addition to helping save the station, I was an advocate for the Lynn Police Department's policing programs, school resource officers. Public safety is most important to bring the city back. I actually acquired land, helped acquire land next to the fire station to expand the fire station. I had new doors put in, new boiler, new roof, new windows. So I really went out of my way to protect the station when there were hopes to close Engine 9. And with so many playgrounds, schools, it was just, I wouldn't stand for that, and it never happened, and we moved on. I don't think, providing adequate funding to the fire and police departments are vital to ensuring the city's first responders have the proper personnel to meet all their staffing needs, their apparatus. We also got a new engine for 9. We need up-to-date equipment, be fiscally responsible and prudent stewards of the citizens of Lynn. Take care of your own money, but more importantly, commit to standing with our first responders to advocate for the resources they need to keep our city safe. Thank you.
John Ladd?
Thank you. I don't disagree with, obviously, all of my opponents' comments on this. The police department alone has sustained incredible cuts over the past several years. And the murder rate in the city, actually, or homicide rate, I should say, in the city, clearly defines that. In 2015, at the start of the decline for funding and staffing on the city, the murder rate was 2. In 2016, it went to 4. When the cuts got a little more significant. And now that they're actually to a drastic point, it's 12, 9 of which have been solved, but still, it's 12. Fact of the matter is, this roots back to one issue, and it's budget. When we've got no investigative units, no drug task force, no community liaison teams anymore, 19 officers off of all of these special units have been reassigned to division just to cover the streets. My opinion on that is if we don't take steps now, immediately, to increase our commercial tax base, as I've been saying for the entire campaign, and make drastic increases to attract businesses and increase commercial development in the city, those numbers are going to be a memory. They're going to continue to climb. We need to do this now. We need a plan laid out now. Increasing the commercial tax base and growth for businesses is going to be one of the only things to close the gap on this terrible funding. And we need to, in closing this gap, we can bring back those departments that have been cut, or units that have been cut, I should say, investigative units. It's been, discussed over the past 2 years as these rate numbers started to climb. Do we, add cameras? Do we do, certain measures to prevent crime? The only way to prevent crime is to stop it before it happens. We don't want to record it after it's happened. We need the funding back in the city, and by increasing the commercial tax base to do that, we can get these units back on the street. Thank you.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you, Chief. It is a priority, most certainly, public safety around this great city of ours, and it's a huge city. And I don't think we could talk about public safety without the impact of the opioid crisis that we're all bestowed upon, not just in this city, but along the North Shore and throughout the Commonwealth. A lot of these low-level or petty crimes are a result of folks that are addicted. And we have to address this head-on and very comprehensively. I'm proud to take the votes I took to preserve the city budget. If we didn't take the necessary votes in May and June of this going into fiscal year 18, imagine losing 13 more uniformed officers. 13. I mean, we are decimated as a department. I remember when Pat McManus was mayor with the crime bill of 1994. We were hovering around 200 officers, 210 officers. We're down to 164. And we need a national sort of crime bill, if you will. We need an injection of resources. And it's not just done with police alone. It's done community by community, street by street, and block by block. We've got to harken back to the local neighborhood crime watches, where the police knew where the offenders were, and we took steps to rid that blight of drug houses or prostitution or dilapidated homes that were in such disrepair through different criminal activity and squatters and the like. We had a pulse on our community in a much better way going back 20 and 25 years ago. We need to get back to that as a Lynn community. We need to start seeing something and saying something. We need to get a public-private partnership that involves cameras, especially in particular the downtown area where a lot of the concentration of the crimes are occurring. We need to have our neighbors feel safe, and we need to make our streets not only safer but cleaner. We need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make Lynn the attractive city that it can be. And these type of initiatives that we bring forward are going to try and help. And I'm all for more public safety, but I don't think it's simply more officers on the street. I think it's a better way to use the resources we have and get our neighbors more involved. Thank you.
On net.
Thank you, Chief. I know public safety is very important for any community. Without public safety, there will be no people, no business. But I have to applaud our officers and the firefighters. They have been doing a great job despite of the limited resources that we have to offer them. And I rode along at nights with them, with the firefighters and the police officers. I have seen their work. They have done an amazing job, and sometimes they have to cut their dinner short and run in the middle of dinner to go to rescue people, especially the firefighters. They they not just put out fires. They do a lot of things. They just even kids choke, so they're the first one to go out there to help. And of course, the police officer, they're not just in the cruiser. They walk in the parks and to make sure tell people do not trash in our park. And I have done with them, and I personally I told them not to do as well. And yes, I agree with all my fellows on the table right here. We need to help them. Anything that we can. We need to. That's why right now I'm working with developers to hopefully that we can get more revenues by building more homes, more businesses. So to help, we not just depend on state money all the time because they are stressed in funding as well. But we continue to work with our state representatives and senators, and because they are one of us, they understand what we need. So we need to work with them closely. And the chief said that he doesn't need 220, 225. If we give him 190, that would do the job. And we do what we can to provide him. That's what he needs. And we haven't bought any vehicle or any equipment for 3 years. That's not good. So I thank you so much. So my time is up, and I appreciate the question.
Councilor Nicolopoulos.
Thank you. The responsibility of every city government is to fully fund your public safety, right? Correct? Everybody here spoke on point. You're very accurate. What we had for numbers and what we currently have for numbers. Let's talk about solutions. Let's take it a next step. The big difference in the city of Lynn is our police officers and our firefighters are forced to write their own grants without any technical experience. Police officers are throwing grants on their tables, and firefighters, and they're forced to write their own grants. So what happens? They go after the low-hanging fruit, the simple grants, the grants that we know we can surely get. We never go after the big ones. And that happens all across public safety. Ask your firefighters. Ask your police officers. That is happening today. Last week, they were throwing a grant, and they're working on it, a $420,000 grant for a city of 110,000+ people. Let's think about solutions. That's why we're here today. We can talk stats all we want. 7 years ago, I sat at the Chamber of Commerce in the Government Affairs meeting when I was the off-street parking chairman, and I talked about bringing in parking meters to generate revenue and having that revenue go to public safety in the business district. We have a MBTA station by the agreement should be policed by the MBTA police 24 hours in a mock vehicle. Instead, we're forced to use our own vehicles to police and patrol the MBTA. That doesn't need to happen. So, grant writing. Again, echo what John Ladd said, creating and expanding the commercial tax base. That's where it starts. And then let's think of innovative ways to fund public safety. And that's what we need. We need solutions. We can talk about all the stats. The opiate problem is not going to go away because the city is faced with a lot of municipalities across the state are faced with a mental health crisis. And that's what we're forced to do. Our firefighters now are not just firefighters. They're EMTs. They're doctors. So we need to transition. Thank you.
Buzzy Barton.
Thank you. Buzzy Barton, Chairman of Public Safety. All right, so this is right up my alley. I've worked with Chief Suslak before I became a counselor on public safety. I worked with Chief Coppinger, and I also worked with the, Chief McGee. You know, everybody up here has had something really good to say about, you know, public safety. But what it comes down to, the numbers of firefighters and police officers that we have in this city, it's you know, we've been dodging a lot of bullets. You know, they talked about some of the people's deaths or whatever, but it's bigger than that. This opium addiction, that's the main thing we got to focus on. And the way to beat that is to you know, get more programs in the city, plus our police officers. We need to find revenue for police and fire. And the only way we're going to get that revenue, as most of the candidates talked about, we got to bring businesses into the city. Without the businesses in the city, you know, we're not going to raise revenue. So we all got to stick together, work together to get through this. Thank you.
Our next question is on economic development. We're going to start this round of questioning with Jamie Figueroa. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer this question. What is your vision for economic development in Lynn, and what steps would you take to both support current businesses and create new business and job opportunities in our city?
Well, economic development, that's the basis of funding anything in this city, whether public safety, education, and basic municipal services. Lynn already participates in the local expedited permitting initiative, Chapter 43D with Massachusetts. We also participate in an economic development incentive which offers 5% state tax credit to companies that create jobs and retain manufacturing jobs and foster private investment here in the city. We have great plans, but the basis of economic development, what developers look for is zoning laws. Our zoning dates back to June of 1925. We're one of the oldest zoning laws in the state. It was amended in 2016 and again recently. But the new council needs to fully recreate a new zoning ordinance that fosters and facilitates to new businesses to come in. Updating zoning ordinances is necessary to create user-friendly document that supports the city's visions to smart growth, economic development, and improved quality of life for its residents. It's time we got serious about lessening the burden on our homeowners, but also allows us to not only fully fund public safety and education and infrastructure improvements that we so desperately need, because a safe community and an educated community and an infrastructure that can sustain and maintain economic development that we are seeking here in this city is the equation that aligns with developers, that aligns with the city government, and it's an equation that aligns for the people of Lynn. We need to stop giving incentives and instead receive community benefit packages to maintain our parks and extracurricular activities so our children are consistently around positivity and we change the cycle of our inner city youth. We won't see $1 invested in Lynn until we start funding public safety, until we our fire department stops experiencing brownouts, and we are looking at a prosperous city with a great new zoning ordinances that allows new businesses to come in. I'm sorry for my time. Thank you.
Rick Ford.
I've been involved in so many economic issues. We started with Carl Leather and Empire Laundry. My 18 years on the city council. We reached out with a petition, the neighbors, we got together, we went to see Pat McManus at the time, my first term, and we ended up with hundreds of thousands of dollars to clean a leather company where it's all beautiful, took down 2-3 family homes, and that's all cleaned up. And then the Empire Laundry side of Myrtle Street is 5 brand new homes done by Lynn Housing Authority. We moved over to the waterworks plant on Walnut Street. That was a disgrace. We remodeled that, made condominiums, and put up 4 new houses behind it. And that was a nice economic development thing. We got hundreds of thousands of dollars from the brownfields people through how Pat McManus did it, through bonds and grants and so much payback. And And it's all started with Bob Migalarina and a couple of neighbors to get together to do that. I was a former council representative for 8 years on the Economic Development Board, and I was involved in dozens of economic projects. The Devlin Park redevelopment project, the waterworks I talked about, the relocation of the power lines on the Linway and the waterfront. I think my experience will allow me to continue to make an immediate and positive advancement in economic development. I'm coming off of being a ward counselor. I was picking up trash, helping with tickets, covering graffiti with spray paint, but I was also involved in all these issues, taking care of the city on the Economic Development Board, always trying to make the best decisions and the best decisions for the city of Lynn. Thank you.
John Ladd.
Thank you. Clearly, the survival and growth of a city depends on economic development and stability. In the at-large race, I'm the only candidate with a real estate business background that actually can bring something to the table that's not already there. We need growth and development just as diverse as our city and our community. My focus on economic development would be use my real estate background to actually sell the idea of Lynn. We need to sell the idea of Lynn to new businesses and businesses that are priced out of the local cities, Boston, surrounding cities in that area. Businesses small and large. We certainly could use more kettle cuisines. We could certainly use more market baskets, Gorelick Farms, but we also need the small businesses as well. Businesses that'll bring in a diverse job force, whether it's minimum wage and or six-figure-a-year jobs. And again, attracting those different businesses, as I mentioned, the kettle cuisines, the market baskets, it creates growth on many different levels for many different residents. And again, you need to be diverse. The residents of Lynn are also looking for transparency with economic development. We need someone with a background that actually understands the demographics and our community in itself. We need to also maintain the quality of life. Oh, past 30 seconds already. We need to be diverse with it, and also, like I said, and commercial is going to be the biggest one, increasing our commercial base, but we also need to be diverse with residential, commercial, and be environmentally diverse. Over the next 2 years, we need to put the full weight of the council on increasing our commercial tax base by fostering relationships that we already have currently with businesses that have already set roots in here, and also inviting new businesses, again, as I mentioned, that are priced outside of the Boston market that are looking for a home, and we have everything to offer them here. Well, my time's up, and I wasn't done. Catch me afterwards.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you, Chief. You know, of the three topics we're going to discuss tonight, I think we're doing the best probably in terms of economic development. I remember when I first got elected, I appeared before the Government Affairs Committee, and we spoke about the vision of Lynn and where we're heading and how we're going to get there. And, I think it does take time as well, but I do point to some accomplishments around the downtown right now, some new businesses, restaurants and the like, with the Arts and Cultural District really peaking. And the Lynn Auditorium, it is economic development because you are spending money. We're getting out-of-towners to come in, most likely, and they're having a meal, or they're spending money in our downtown. They're enjoying a show. And I think that does stimulate. Along with economic development, we also have to have the right job training. So we have to partner with Lynn Tech. We have to make sure that programs like the Machine Shop is running with Tony Dunn and other folks, the E-Team, et cetera, so that the skill set now matches the 21st century employment. We are doing good things in terms of the market basket and some of the restaurants like District 45 and some investments on the Beacon Chevrolet site and the North Shore Community College expansion, to name a few. We can do more. Just last night, my council colleagues and I are moving forward with a proposal through economic development to try and lure Amazon here. And we hope that we get Amazon. But short of that, if we don't, there will be offshoot business as a result of that, triggered based upon the region that is located in, whether it be East Boston or another community nearby. but we have to be in the game to play in the game. We've been hitting a lot of singles lately. We need to hit the home run, and it is coming. But we also have to have the patience, the due diligence, and we need to be reflective of what our economic development team is doing, along with the mayor's office, and work collaboratively to build this city into a stronger, more productive workforce that gives back and lessens the burden on both commercial and residential taxpayers. Thank you.
On that,
Thank you, Chief. Economy is the lifeline of our city. We all know that economy can draw business owners, draw people to come to our city, and also increase tax revenues. I think Director Jim Cowdell have done a good job in promoting our city, and we need to continue to help him. And we have seen that a lot of businesses start to look at Lynn as the destination for investment. As Brian said, we have Market Basket, and also we work very hard to get a YMCA building on a Wheeler Street, going to be a $49 million project, which is amazing. And Amazon look at our city as well, and Washington Street Gateway project, and the Beacon Chevrolet, like Brian said. So there's a lot of things going on in our city right now, and our streets are being paved, and I think we do pretty good job as a city, despite of we need more money to promote our city. And I'm also happy that the city mayor have a city planner, but we need to have just one singular city planner, not one person do multiple tasks. I have been advocating for business manager for the last 4 years, and so it's pretty much similar to business planner. So I think this person will be a great asset to help to promote our city, because it will be an amazing, because we have everything in our city already. So we have the beach, we have the Linwood, we have the college. So you can name it. So I'm very proud to be in the council to help Jim Cowdell and the mayor and all my colleagues, and to pave the way for our investor to come to our city. And we set up a good zoning for our business as well. And I know that I have 10 seconds left, but I just want to stress that, and the college is doing a great job as well. We need to expand it more, and so let us help each other out. Thank you so much.
so Nicola, help us.
What is Lynn's current vision? Does anyone know? Does anybody know what the master plan for the city of Lynn is? We've lost over 35,000 jobs in the last 40 years, and what do we replace them with? Housing. You know what our current plan calls for? 80% housing on the waterfront. 11 miles away, there's a building called General Electric. The innovation capital of the United States is 11 miles away from us. What are we doing to tap into that industry? They're designing in Boston and Cambridge. We can manufacture and build it in Lynn. That's what Lynn is. Lynn is a working city, and we got to get back to that through zoning. And it's a Chamber of Commerce that actually began that initiative and brought it to the next level. And before I left as chairman, I started one committee so they can continue the conversation. And I co-chaired it with Rick Starbutt and Mr. Suslak, and it's called the Workforce Development Committee that talks about economic growth. We're here talking about economic development, but it's really about economic growth, tying in education, training, tapping into our Lynn Vocational School, North Shore Community College, which becomes community college around the country, becoming your new workforce training centers. We have all the resources here. All we need to do is create that independent planner, the planning department. And let's not say it can't be done. It's being done next door in Salem. 14 assistant planners dedicated in a department writing grants. 90% of their grants comes from that department. If you ask the mayor of Salem, they couldn't do it without a planning department. We need to address those issues today. Lynn is poised for manufacturing. We're already tapped into manufacturing right now, food manufacturing. We have Kettle Cuisine, Fluff, Bentwater Brewery, traditional breads, Sai Kim Foods. We have Old Neighborhood. We're already in the food industry. Let's continue that. Let's bring jobs back in the city. As a son of 2 laborers, leather factory workers, that's what we need to do. Bring those good paying jobs back to Lynn. Thank you.
Buzzy Barton.
Economy development. I think I've been on the city council for 6 years now, and I think we changed a lot of the zoning, which we need to do a lot more. But remember, we brought Market Basket to town, which got a lot of jobs. I think their hiring is like 80% of their workforce are Lynn people. The Beacon site, we did a lot with that. I heard somebody mention that we shouldn't give out TIFs for something like that, you know, but I can guarantee you that the Beacon site wouldn't be there if we didn't do a TIF. In that TIF, we'll get Lynn about $45 million over 30 years. And now that we got a company in that's doing that, if you go down to the Revere Beach and you look at their the houses, that the buildings they're putting up there, well, that we're going to have something similar on the Lynnway. So to get these people to invest that kind of money in the city of Lynn, you have to. There's a little give and take. So I got to tell you that you have to give out some TIFs. And things that we have to look into the future is we all know that a place like Lynn Hospital, you know, how long is it going to be there, and can we save it? Well, it's not looking good for us, and I think we should start thinking about getting involved in Lynn Hospital so that we have somebody representing the city at that table when they sell it, so it just doesn't go to nonprofit organizations. That's a lot of land out there, and we have to, you know, protect that land and make sure we get something back from the city. They're taking away our hospital. They got to show us a way that they can work with us to make sure we get revenue from that building. Thank you.
Ryan Field?
Thank you, John. I just attended the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce and the Latino Business Association as a representative of the funeral home. I've learned more from you, the small business owners, on what you want to see in the city and what you hope to see in the city, because you're the ones invested here, you're the ones living here. We can talk about the days of the GE and how we can partner with them with their new headquarters in Boston. I remember going to Conley's Candies on Union Street and seeing that transition to Union Street just being totally neglected for a number of years, and now it's continuing its new economic growth because of the Arts and Cultural District. Those zoning changes and those designations around the city, and now including the auditorium at Lynn City Hall, it brings these businesses in. It brings in businesses, and they thrive. The Blue Ox, Rossetti's. You can solicit all you want, but you have to provide those areas and for them to be able to thrive. Their marketing departments understand it better than any of us. They know where they're going to thrive, and they know where they want to place their business. We look at the development on the Lynnway, and again, the echo of the other candidates today, the Kettle Cuisine and a number of the businesses. Let's not forget about Gorelick Farms, which is a huge business that's located right here on the Lynnway. There's going to be concerns over the next couple of years with water rates and different projects that are going to be in the development stages and infrastructure to all those critical areas that there's a lot to understand on how to bring these businesses here with all the projects that are going to be going on and all the risks that they're putting ahead to try to make a profit. We need it. And it's the understanding that we need to work with them and understand one another. Thank you.
Our third question is on the city budget. Again, the candidates will have 2 minutes to address this. There's no question our city is facing serious challenges providing the level of quality city services that we'd all like to see, including adequate funding for our schools, police, fire, DPW, special services, among others. What ideas do you have for helping the city provide adequate funding for all departments, and what steps would you take to have your ideas implemented? This round, we're going to start with Rick Ford.
I think taxes and bringing in all these the businesses we've talked about are very important. As the city grapples with financial constraints, I think it's essential to work with the mayor, state and elected officials, and federal elected delegation to apply for state and federal grants. State and federal grant opportunities are an important funding source, and I would absolutely support to ensure that the city is maximizing reliable resources we need to adequately keep our neighborhoods safe and protected. It would be important to have a strong relationship with our federal and state delegation to identify and advocate to secure grants, which I was able to do in my 18 years on the council, and I would continue to do if elected at large. A couple of things that I did at a smaller scale: opened a boxing club, got $18,000 from John Blodgett, the district attorney. He gave drug money kicked back. He gave $25,000 to Girls Inc. and 18 to the boxing club, which kept so many kids off the street. And I know it's at a lower level, but like I talked about before, I'd like to take that to a higher level. And also working with Jamie Marsh and Jim Cardell, the EDIC team, I think it's so important. When Market Basket first came, a big tax revenue like that, they got a break to come here. But in the long run, it will be worth it. I was the first person they talked to, and I asked how the mayor felt, and they said they hadn't talked to the mayor yet. So they came at ground level, talked to me. I brought in Pete Capano. We had a neighborhood meeting, and that's how that actually took hold, and how things worked up to where it is now, Market Basket like that. But I would work as a team with all the other councilors and the state delegation to do everything I could to find money to fund it. Fund our budget. Thank you.
John Ladd?
Thank you. City budget is a huge topic for me, obviously, so I actually have a rehearsed speech for this one, but honestly, I did write it myself. We can all agree that the overall city budget has actually been a hindrance for every city department to make any remarkable differences over the past couple of years. My outlook at this point, if elected, we need to take immediate action to the problem collectively. We need to take a business and sales approach to the city and its operation. We need to inform new businesses and investors that Lynn is already on the map. We're not trying to get on the map. We already are on the map. We need to market the city to investors and businesses looking to set roots in the city. This comes by using the positive strides that have been made to date by current government and fresh perspective of new prospective business owners on the city council with track records of business operation, marketing, and sales. In doing this, we promote our arts and culture district, our close proximity to Boston, our revitalization of downtown, and more importantly, the continued push for development on our waterfront. In marketing and planning with smart growth for these areas in our city, businesses will look to develop. In bringing businesses of a mixed nature to the city, we not only increase our desperately needed commercial tax base, commercial tax base to close the terrible funding gaps that we have, but it also brings jobs for residents. And the non-residents that are working these jobs actually bring disposable cash into the city. They're going to stop at our restaurants. They're going to stop at our museums. They're going to stop at our stores. They're going to spend money, and that's what we need. In doing this, we also need to pay close attention to our housing so we don't tip the scales on it. We need several minds to work on this together, and I do agree with Tasso Nikolakopoulos. We do need a planner working with business owners on this, and we need to lay the foundation now for when our students actually graduate high school. They can stay and or come back to the city that they grew up in. They can have a job. They can own a home, buy a home, raise a family, and have properly funded schools for them to actually attend so they don't need to leave our city. Sorry, Leslie.
Brian LaPierre?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. So the city budget, it was my first one, being in my first term. It has really consumed the city council. I will tell you, hours upon hours were invested in making sure that we had adequate resources to make sure the city runs properly. That's why President Sayre looked toward me to be chair of the City Council Budget Subcommittee. When I tell you, every week we were meeting with Councilor Barton, Councilor Net, and others, on a weekly basis, trying to find creative ways to close the budget gap. It was double digits at one point. It was over $10 million. We were creative in trying to raise things through fees, Lynn Auditorium fees, for example, convenience service fees, a local meals tax, a moderate trash fee. We tried to do everything possible. Hiring freezes, positions did not go filled. We looked at everything under a microscope. We had city budgets being cut 10 and 15% to make ends meet to get us through to the next fiscal year. We debated medical marijuana till I cannot even tell you how many hours into the night to get new revenues into the city that should happen in fiscal year 18. All of these things are great, but we need to move forward. We need to make sure we have the adequate resources, like my colleagues up here are saying, and the only way we do that is to expand that commercial tax base. Total agreement in that philosophy. But we also must make sure this is a $300 million, very daunting, large municipal budget. And most of it goes right over to the schools, as you know. And we have been short on that end of the net school spending for at least since 2009. We need to fix that problem permanently. We need to fund the Lynn schools, and we need to make sure we have adequate public safety for our police, for our fire, for our service folks like the DPW, and all City Hall and our library alike. We can do this, but we must put a laser focus on our city budget and make sure that not a day passes that we aren't doing the right thing. Thank you.
Hong Net.
I know after three terms in the council, I learned that it's very impossible. It's so hard for anyone to deal with budgets, especially with a large city like this. And I have to give a credit to the city government, especially the mayor and her team and the councilors. We have done a very good job and not to lay anybody off, despite we are short of $7 million right now. But we managed to be okay, and definitely. So we not feel too comfortable about it, but we're gonna continue to do what we can and try to promote our city as much as we can. Hopefully, people will come to invest in our city, and also we will continue to work with our state legislators and federal legislator. We have our congressmen, a good congressman who work with, and he's willing to help us, and even the governor and lieutenant governor. And they promise they will. It is Lynn's term, so no more Lowell term. So Lynn. So used to help the city of Lowell. So now it's Lynn, and we will push what we can to make sure they focus on Lynn, and we have good team in the city council and also the mayor's office. I believe that if politicians work well together, get along, will benefit for all of us. So we're going to continue to do that, and I will do my hardest along with my colleagues to help to promote our city. And I want to see something like a restaurant month. So once a year we get all the restaurants together and promote, so people will come to taste our food, because Lynn has so many different restaurants and we cannot pass that. So it's a plus that we have, and diversity is really, really a jewel for our city as well. So we never forget that, and let's do what we can.
Tasso Nikolakopoulos.
Thank you, John. Before defining solutions, we need to define problems. The biggest problem the city faces right now is the net school spending problem. The inability to contribute the required level of funding in the heart of our city, that's the biggest issue we're facing today. There's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. 350 towns, cities and towns complied with this. Only one didn't. We're clearly living beyond our means. We're not generating enough revenue. It's simple as that. It's your checkbook. We need to balance our checkbook. And how do we do that? Yes, it's updating our zoning to include expansion of commercial tax base. You know, we have that $15 for residential rate, and we have $35 for commercial rate. What makes more sense to grow? It's simple math. And that's what we need to do. The other thing to do is, again, let's work on a master plan. A master plan shows everyone in the state, every investor in every other city and town, it's a business plan. That's what it is for the city, a business plan. Nobody goes into business without having a business plan. And updating and creating a comprehensive master plan with benchmarks and performance incentives, that's what we need to get to. Of course, we're the largest city in North Shore. and we're the ones closer to Boston. We should be outperforming every single city there is. We have a diverse population that needs to work, blue-collar people that needs to get back to work. So again, it goes back to economic development. It's the planning department, it's the planner, it's a grant writer. Those are we need. Those professional opinions need to come into city to help us move forward. And yes, I look forward to sitting with every single one of you and working hard, but I don't want to be creative when it comes to raising taxes. I want to be creative to generate revenue. Let's forget that. Thank you very much.
Buzzy Barton.
Leslie, you can put your time clock away. It's me. Hey, I sat through a lot of meetings in the mayor's office, over 9 months of meeting, trying to figure out ways not to lay people off in the city. There was just so many meetings and so many juggling, moving money around here and there, and it wasn't pretty. I don't think there's anybody in the room that knows more about Lynn finances than me. Lynn is in trouble financially. Until we get a city planner or a grant writer to right this ship and help us bring more revenue in the city, we're going to be in trouble. We escaped at least laying 40 people off this time around. And if it happens the next time, it could be 80 people. So what we need the councilors all working together as councilors, working with the mayor, working with our state officials, as you heard the other candidates talk about. It's not pretty what's going on, but there is one big solution. We need a grant writer and a city planner. If we don't get that, Lynn is in trouble. Thank you.
Brian Field.
I always like to follow Buzzy. I think I'm just going to echo everybody here, just listening to the folks that out in the community as you're knocking on their doors and they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And they ask, what's the solution? And I don't think there is an easy solution. It's working together, not just on the council, not just with the mayor, but it's going to take the whole entire community. We have to define three things. What are our goals? What is attainable? And what's the timetable for all of this? We refer back to planning. We have a 10-year master plan. Do we have a 5-year plan? Do we have any plan? And nothing can be done until we really get our finances in order, encourage businesses to come and invest into the city, take a risk that maybe they don't want to take. We need a better way of working in government. It's going to take not just the council, it's going to take the entire community. It's going to take the business community. It's going to take everybody in this city working together to achieve this. We have goals, they are attainable, and there can be a timetable to this solution.
Okay, we'll come to the portion of the program where Jamie, I'm sorry, my bad.
Oh, it's okay if you
My
want to
bad.
skip me.
No, my bad.
Well, all right, Lynn budget. Simple. We need a full audit, a comprehensive audit of our budget. And not only that, we need to echo other towns and cities and have transparency in our budget, whether it's town hall budget meetings or once a month meetings with department heads to figure out how their budgets are working and where they're at, whether they need more money, less money, and how we can invest it in other places. We need, I echo everyone here, a grant writing department to supplement our budget shortfalls. That is key. This year we were $8 million in the hole. PFM, which was the agency contracted by the state to come in here and give us financial classes, one of their suggestions is that by 2022, we will still be in a $3 million deficit and have our budget with a $22.2 million shortfall. That is sad. 100% of our budget goes towards expenses and none in investments, where 75% of our budget goes to schools and city salaries, and 25% of it goes to health benefits and pensions. There's something wrong there. There's no room for investment. The new council, along with the mayor, will need to sit down and focus on a 10-year capital improvement plan because the way we're going will equal to severe layoffs and a broken city. Capital planning process is crucial to assuring sustainability of the city's infrastructure and reduce long-term capital spending on these projects. Let's prioritize capital projects based on condition assessments, as we do now, and make it a standard practice for all city projects and fund them in a transparent and systematic way so that the Lynn community, including the business community, is satisfied with our plans. We need to focus our areas again to not only fully funding our city, but investing in it, investing in public safety, investing in education, and investing in everyone in Lynn. We work better when we're all at work. I echo some of these guys here. Let's invest in technology and innovation. That's the way the future of the United States is going. Manufacturing is gone. We outsource it. So let's bring what we're working on now. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing. Let's bring that stuff here to this city. Thank you.
Okay. Now we come to the portion where we take questions from the audience. I was just seeing if everyone was paying attention earlier with my test. So do we have some questions, Chris? So again, 1 minute. Each candidate gets 1 minute. Just pick them at random. Okay, what do you propose to do to fix the Lynn public school buildings? We're going to start with John Ladd for this one.
Of course, I get the random question. Thanks, thanks, Mr. Sussler.
No favorites here.
But it really doesn't fall much far. You want me to up? All right, I'm going.
Is he standing or sitting?
40's on my cord. Come on, man. That's better. That's better. That's better. All right, good. Improving the school buildings actually isn't really going to fall much out of the topic of what my entire campaign has been for. If we cannot increase the commercial tax base and increase the commercial dollars actually coming into the city, we're not going to be able to do a thing with these buildings. They've been let go for so long. Unfortunately, the city was divided ridiculously on the building of 2 new middle schools, and I will take absolutely a position on that. I was 100% for the 2 new schools. I think we needed them. The city is in dire need of new schools. We're overloaded. However, we're not getting the 2 new schools because we voted it down. But if we don't increase our commercial tax base, we're not going to do a thing with it. So in the answer to your question, long way around the block to go a short distance, commercial tax base to repair the buildings if they're salvageable.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I know this is just a minute response. So, average age of school buildings in Lynn, 80 years old. Oldest school building, Tracy, 126 years old. Aborn after that, 1898. Brickett School, 1911. We clearly need to Pickering, 102 years old, 1915. We clearly need to invest in our schools. The right approach, the right way to do it, working with the state, working with the school building authority, to get the right leadership and proposal that addresses the concerns. We cannot have another flawed episode of proposals that aren't going anywhere. We need to get this community behind building new schools. We may have to look at 1 middle school, not 2. We need to look at affordability, what the community can afford, and what they deserve is first-rate, first-class facilities like the Thurgood Marshall Middle School on Brookline Street. We can do it, and we can do it more, and we can do it better if we're all together and all floating and all rowing in the same direction. So I welcome that, and I welcome partnering with my colleagues on the school committee and others to make that a reality in 2018. Thank you.
Hong Net.
Yes, take $40 million to fix at the school, Pickering Middle School. And yes, our students and our teachers deserve good schools. And I totally agree with Brian that we have to work with our state legislators and the school authority and plus school committee and all of us and business community. We all have to get together to find ways, to find revenues to build 1 school first, like Brian said, and if we cannot afford 2 schools, because our children need that. And with our new school, it's going to be tough, and Pickering's too old and very cold in the winter. So let's do what we can and get together as leaders and let's find ways to help our children and teachers. Thank you.
Tasso Nikolakopoulos.
Yes, thank you, John. Quick solution, homeschooling. No, just kidding. Listen. It's obvious. I supported 2 new schools right away. Before I even announced, I was ready. I was on board for that because that's the fundamental need of a city is 2 new schools. Correct? Yes. I'm looking at Burlington. I try to look at best practices. What works around the state? Burlington has brought in corporations, and now are funding programs in their schools, and they're helping infrastructure as well. There's an opportunity here. That's why we go back to the waterfront, the master plan, and bringing in revenue. It's all about bringing in revenue. That's why we're here today. How do we need more revenue? If we had money, we wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be running. So that's what it is. The only thing I didn't like about the process about the 2 new schools, I think we should have built a stronger collaborative. We really didn't listen to a lot of people out there, obviously, and it kind of split the city apart. So I again, having that business plan, bringing in tax base, commercial tax base, expanding it, that's important. Thank you, Leslie.
Buzzy Barton?
Yeah, I don't think the schools had anything to do with the taxes, people not voting for the tax. Excuse me. That I don't think it had anything to do with the taxes, people not voting because of the taxes, because everybody in the city knows how bad a shape our schools are in. The problem was we didn't sell it. We didn't do a good job selling it. We should have all been working together. I know when we did the Marshall Middle School, I can guarantee you we had at least 50 neighborhood meetings with the, all the parents and anybody in the neighborhood, our neighbors, neighboring businesses. I think it was our fault. We dropped the ball. We did not communicate good enough, and that's why it failed. We need schools. Thank you.
Brian Field?
Thank you. I'm just going to stay seated because I can see that I'm wrapped up in the cord here somehow. And I'm not that good to look at, so I'll stay hidden behind. Very important issue. We failed our kids. Every day that we've gone beyond examining why it didn't pass has failed the kids. Transparency, community support, these are all issues that went into that vote. And nothing's been done since that vote's taken. There's the problem. There are leaders in this community that looked at it and assumed that taxes was the only concern, and they've done nothing since. As a leader, I will be at the forefront, along with the other counselors, to get these schools done, to provide the type of education, like they say. The Marshall Middle School is a model for the entire state. We need new schools. We all need to work together in a collaborative to get it done.
Jamie Figueroa?
You didn't forget about me this time.
No.
Well, it's a simple solution. We didn't ask about the 2 school votes. We asked how we're going to protect these buildings. Simple. We need building engineers. We're one of the only municipalities here without building engineers to provide the preventative maintenance needed to these schools to maintain them for hundreds and hundreds of years. I went to the Edwards Middle School in Charlestown. That building's over 140 years old in pristine condition because their school department has building engineers that year out, go out, inspect these buildings, write up recommendations as far as preventative maintenance, and perform these preventative maintenance measures to maintain these buildings sustainable and safe for our kids to go. No kid should be going to Pickering right now. There's asbestos. The paint is falling off the ceiling. It's lead paint. It's dangerous for our children. But with building engineers performing the proper preventative maintenance to maintain these buildings is the future for Lynn. And Marshall Middle School, God forbid, in 60 years is going to look just as bad as Pickering without the proper preventative maintenance. So let's get building engineers in here. Let's get them to perform these preventative maintenance measures every year so our buildings will last us for hundreds of years, and when we won't be back down this road in 40 years from now. Thank you.
Rick Ford?
It's going to be a tough solution. I think I look back to the Glasgow was put in the wrong spot, but it was a 90-10 federal government put up 90% of the money to 10%. And if we can get those kind of numbers, we have to look at them. I believe that Marshall was 80-20, which is tough still for the city to come up with that kind of revenue. But we absolutely need the new schools. My son's a school teacher at Marshall, and he speaks so highly of it. I see Anita Wessel out there. She makes me think of, we got the new fence to match on the Callahan School to match King's Lynn, and that came out beautiful over there. That's another story. But we've got to get new schools, and we need innovative people, engineering, people from the city. If we have to go out and hire to find the best ways to get to the end game, because our kids deserve it. Thank you.
Okay. Our next question, we're going to start with Brian LaPierre. Okay. Being only one of a few urban cities on a waterfront, what do you propose for the development of the waterfront?
Great question, John. So continuing to implement the plan, I think, but I think there's got to be more input from this room, frankly. The business community, our Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, has to have a seat at the table for these important discussions, whether it's the gear plant site, the beacon, or even what's going to happen on the side of the Linway where the Massachusetts Merchandise Mart is, and the parcels of land that are all owned by 3, I believe, individuals. What is going to happen? But making sure our local area Chamber of Commerce are at the table. You know, there's an old adage, if you're not on the table, you might be on the menu. We need to make sure that the folks in this room have a very viable stake in what goes on down there, whether it's residential, the commercial building blocks, the path to the sea, the bike path, and recreational access. We need to make sure you're the experts on this one. You need to be included in the EDIC plans. You need to be up to date because you have the innovative ideas and the creativity to make our waterfront grow and thrive for decades to come. So I hope that you are a good partner with us as we develop the waterfront. Thank you.
Hongnet?
We are all part of this. We are one community, so we have to work together. So we have to listen to our residents and the business owners. The politician cannot make this decision by ourselves, so we get to work together. I totally agree with my colleague, and you guys have the experience and the expert in businesses. So we're not expert. We work with you, but we take your advice, and we will do what we can to bring the waterfront to a lively that our city deserves. So I don't have a lot to say, but let's work together. And this is the only thing we say, and I will not my own decision. So we all will work together. We have to hear all voices from across the board. We are the city, and we must work together. If we work together, nothing will go wrong. I agree. Thank you.
Tasso Nikolakopoulos?
Have we not worked together for the last 10 years? I ask you, if I'm elected, I want to be a city councilor. I'm not a professional planner. My job is not to get involved in everyday development. Isn't that what Barry Bluestone study said? Our permitting process, that's what we need to work on. To getting businesses here up and running, time to market, shovel ready, having a city that's called shovel ready like Cambridge. Always prepared. Let's not forget, I'm running for council. I'm here to create policy. I'm not here to give you an opinion on what I want on the waterfront. We have 1,000 opinions what we want at the school. We have 1,000 opinions what we want at the waterfront. I want a big Ferris wheel like London. Kidding. What we need is to professionalize, update our zoning. That's what we need, to bring professionals to tell us what we need. Well, we can sit here discuss back and forth what we need for years. But that's what we need to do. I want to be a legislator. I want to create policy. And I want to bring professionals to the city to tell us what we need to do. Thank you.
Buzzy Barton?
It all goes back to a city planner. Tasso had some good points about what's going on in the city. But as far as the zoning goes, the city council, since I've been on the city council, there has been a lot of zoning changes. And I know there needs to be more, and you know, that's why we move on like we do. But we all have to work together. It isn't one person in the city. You sit one city council or yeah, Mayor, if we're not all on the same page, it's not gonna work. So your input from the chamber and business partnership, you know, we need more input from you. And it all comes down to one thing, a city planner. And if people keep saying we can't afford a city planner, we can't afford not to have a city planner. Thank you.
Brian Field?
Thank you, John. When we have folks like Jay Ash here on a daily, weekly basis from the state telling us we need to get our act together, and we're not listening, we need to figure out, again, our goals. Are they attainable? And what is the timetable for this? I'll echo almost every candidate's here's response. A city planner can do that. An organized government can do that with input from the business community, from the residents, ideas of mixed use projects. Work with the developers and let them know that we really need to get this done. Open Space has been transparent. They've invited everyone to their meetings to take in those ideas from the community of what we want. Everybody's voices need to be heard. We need to get this off the ground. We need to do this.
Jamie Figueroa?
Thank you, sir. So, our waterfront. How many more professionals or groups are we going to hire to continue to study these things for us? We know the facts. We know what we have to do. How long are we going to wait to elect a council to perform these actions, to actually take them in steps? I see beautiful technology and innovation in our waterfront. I see mixed-use development, not 80% residential, maybe more 50-50. Let's get to work on our waterfront. We're a city of 100,000 people. We don't have one hotel, let alone a motel. We need one of those. We need them here today, not yesterday, today, and we need to work towards it. We need to really get a grasp of what we need in the city, work out these studies, and put forth a plan. Again, I've talked about redoing zoning ordinances. We need to work out that capital improvement plan to get the waterfront down, bring hotels, bring mixed-use development, bring innovation, bring technology to our waterfront. That's how we're going to be a better Lynn. That's how we're going to progress and lessen the burden on all of you homeowners here in the city, especially myself and my family that we own a home. Let's lessen the burden on them, and let's create commercial tax base that's going to be better for all of us. Thank you.
Rick Ford?
Back when I was on the EDIC board, we'd meet every couple of weeks, and in a sense, we have a city planner. If we don't have the money, we should move along right away with what we have. The Charlie Gators, the Jim Cardells, the Jamie Marshes. We've had beautiful engineers come in and show us beautiful plans on what could be on the Lynnway, actually walking from Revere to Lynn with hotels, mixed use, 50-50, all different ideas. When the gaming failed over at Suffolk Downs, that pulled a lot of people out. The Building 19 plant area had a $50,000 down payment, was taken back. Every time a helicopter landed at Suffolk Downs where I worked, I would run out saying, you know, why are you guys here? And they were looking at Lynn, Revere, and East Boston as possible sites of development. So there are plans our city workers are working on that are going to take time and, again, work together. Nothing happens overnight. Thank you.
John Ladd?
I'm going to stay seated if you don't mind, because Rick Ford's on my court again. Please don't. When it comes to the waterfront, I don't think it actually really matters what I think. It's actually what we need. This is what I've done for business for the last 15 years. We know what the city needs. We absolutely do need a mix of residential and commercial development on the waterfront. But I also have to go back to the same thing, and Tasso, sometimes you and I don't agree on a lot of things, but we're going to agree on this one again as far as the city planner. It's not a matter of what we want, it's what we need. And we need somebody to actually tell us that. And like I said, we're experts on what we sell. However, it's not that simple. It's absolutely not that simple. I mean, we need a mix of residential, we need a mix of commercial, but to what degree? It would absolutely take everybody sitting in this room to make the decision on what we need. Like I said, I can advocate at the top of my lungs of this is what we do for a living, this is what we sell, this is how we make money. But fact of the matter is, it's every single business sitting in this room right now that's actually going to make the difference down there, because all of us are going to have a stake in that. You keep cutting me off.
Okay. And now we're going to take our third and possibly final question. I'm not sure how we're doing for time. We'll do this and then we'll assess from there. And this will start with HongNet. With everyone looking to fund something, how do you feel about the conservation restriction? With everyone looking to fund something, how do you feel about the conservation restriction?
Talk about the Lynn Woods, pretty much, right? Yes.
Okay.
That's what. Yes. That's a great place. So we are very fortunate to have Lynn Woods. So we will not trade for anything, and so that's a great place to go. And we are looking for a place to have fun, and it's great bike rides and picnic and get lost sometimes. But yeah, so I encourage people to go there, and it's one of, I think it's what the second largest municipal Linwood, woods in the country. So we are blessed, and I don't know what else to say. And we are lucky to have that, and let's continue to preserve it and keep it, and we'll not trade for anything. And I'm 100% to protect that as well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Tasso Nikolakopoulos.
Yeah. Your question again, it's about conserving our parks and recs. Is that correct?
I believe that is. If the
Okay.
person wants to identify himself, I'll read it again, but
Yeah. No, absolutely not. And I was kind of appalled when I heard the mayor recently talk about, when we talked about Amazon, bringing Amazon, including our conservation land. And we don't need to touch it. We can be creative enough in a waterfront and in our city. We're blessed to be on the coastline and to have a great woods. Incredible woods. That we have the resources that many cities hope to have for. We don't need to do that. We need to preserve what we have in our city as far as conservation land. I don't think we should be developing any of that. Again, we have plenty of land to be. We can create it. We're a land poor city. Let's get that straight. We're a land poor city, but then again, a lot of municipalities are land poor cities. So we need to be creative in innovation and infrastructure within our means. Looking at some of our brownfields, that's what we should be looking at to build on, our brownfields. Thank you.
Buzzy Barton.
Recently, the city council, probably a month ago, took a vote to make Lynn a green city. So we're even trying to take it a step farther. As far as Lynn Woods, there's no talk of taking Lynn Woods or any part of Lynn Woods. It's so protected, we couldn't do it if we wanted to. So, that's the shot. But as far as us going green, the city going green, we're talking, we're in the talking process now. We took a council vote to do that, but we want to, other than emergency vehicles, like would have to be fuel cost and stuff like that, clean air. So the council has taken a lot of steps to move forward on that green. Thank you.
Brian Field.
Last year, the council took a very important vote on a conservation restriction on areas of Lynn Woods in partnership with Essex Greenbelt. And it's been stagnant ever since. We need to make sure that that goes through and continues so that Lynn Woods, second to only park in New York City, Central Park. Yeah, Central Park. Thank you. It's good to have these guys right in the front. And you sit up here in the lights. We haven't eaten. We're watching everybody else eat. It's important. It's a special area. It's where I grew up. I walked those trails at a young age. Don't tell my mom. It's a special part of this city. The restrictions are in place. Lynn Woods is off the table for any sale or development.
Jamie Figueroa.
All right. Well, our conservation, that's what makes this such a great place and a destination city for everyone. We have 4 great resources. 1, we're 10 miles from Boston. I look at that as a resource. 2nd, we have Lynn Woods. 3rd, we have the waterfront. 4th, we have Gannon Golf Course. Oh, 5th one, we have great water. These are all the things that attract people to a city that's so close to Boston with a lower market rate rent than any other city that's closer to Boston. That's what makes us great. That's what we need to capitalize on. So, of course, there's no building on the Lynn Woods. It's 2,200 acres. There's no building on the waterfront, which needs to happen. And Gannon Golf Course is gorgeous. Let's maintain these places. Let's build on the waterfront. Keep Lynn Woods so our Lynn Wood runners have somewhere to run every Wednesday in the summer. And let's keep it great. And more plays on the Lynn Woods. I want to use it as a resource and an attraction for the city, not to develop. Thank you.
Rick Ford.
My nephew, Kevin Durant's on the front page of the sports today winning a race for classical at Lynn Woods, but that's another story. Absolutely do not touch Lynn Woods. 18 years I was councilor of the Pennybrook Road End, and we never did anything to hurt Lynn Woods, to touch Lynn Woods. We actually took back pieces of people's backyards, which they weren't too happy about, but Lynn Woods and the great job that the leadership up there does, the friend of Lynn Woods, I wanted to get everything marked off, some of the property they own. And people had built sheds and things through the years, and that's all been taken care of. And I would have to agree with Buzzy. I don't think anyone's after Lynn Woods. We're so proud of the golf course and hopefully the future waterfront, which I know is going to happen. I just hope I'm around to see it, so I want to speed things up. Lynn Woods, the golf course on the waterfront, and we have so many great assets in the city that if we work together with the mayor and the state delegation and Seth Moulton, our congressman, I think we'll be able to get these things done. Thank you.
John Ladd.
Leslie, this time I actually don't think I need a minute for this one. The answer is absolutely 100% no. I've sold real estate in the city for 15 years. That is one of the biggest selling features that we talk about, that we use, that we advocate for. Our beach, our Lynn Woods reservation, the golf courses, it's absolutely hands down 100% no.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you. The proudest vote that I've taken during my short tenure was to adopt the Conservation Restriction Act last winter. And I will also note that it is one of the most important issues that folks advocated for since my tenure. Email, the Friends of Lynn Woods through Jane's leadership, and Steve I know is here, and others. I got bombarded with emails and text messages and messages on Facebook and the like. Universally accepted, the Woods is off limits and always will and should be, especially if I'm a city councilor in the city of Lynn. So we protect our natural resources, we protect the public good, and I want to put a plug in for this Saturday at Pirate Day up in Lynn Woods at 11 a.m. Go and enjoy a wonderful event this Saturday, October 14th. Thank you. Protect the Woods always. Arr.
Okay. We'll start with Tasso in the closing statements. 1 minute. 1 minute? 1 minute.
My last name takes 10 seconds.
That's why I left your last name off on that one.
Tasso Nicolakopoulos, small business owner. Graduated college, St. Joseph's College in Vermont. I went on and worked at the State House. I worked on the Transportation Bond Bill, Chapter 90 money. I went on to the private sector and worked on a Central Artery project. I worked on the Old Colony Railroad. And then I'm a small business owner. Public sector, private sector, small business owner. I think I'm qualified. And that's what separates me. And what I did in the last 7 years, the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce educated me. It gave me access to professionals. It gave me access to economists, educators. I sat in the same table in a leadership, an executive board, and as a leader. And that's why I want to run, because I heard the expert opinion, and my main objective in this city is to bring jobs back in the city. That's what's been missing for 40 years. There is no emphasis on job creation in this city. The emphasis has been primarily on housing. and it's not sustainable. If you want a real sustainable economic plan, it's job creation, job development, expansion. You heard it all tonight. Thank you. That's why I'm running. My name is Tasso Nicolakopoulos. I'm number 1 on the ballot. Vote for me November 7th.
Buzzy Barton.
First of all, thank you, John, for moderating this. Leslie, the rest of the chamber, thank you for having this forum. There are many reasons I love the job of Councilor at Large, but at the top of that list is the opportunity it gives me to meet and interact with people I have known for many years and others I have never met. I am anxious to continue to work for you on the City Council, and I respectfully ask for your vote, one of your 4 votes for City Council at Large. Thank you.
Brian Field.
Thank you, John. Thank you, the Chamber of Commerce, for hosting the event, board whole staff for accommodating. As a lifelong Lynn resident, a family man, a local businessman, and community leader, I'm confident that by working together, being fiscally responsible, transparent, and having a clear vision for Lynn, we have the ability to overcome many of these challenges that we spoke of tonight in our community. As your Councilor at Large, I will be accessible and responsive and will work hard on your behalf. On November 7th, I respectfully ask for your vote to serve on this council, better our lives together. Thank you.
Jamie Figueroa.
First, I want to thank you, Mr. Suslak, for chairing this, moderating this great event. Ms. Leslie Gould, thank you for having this. I am here at the end of the day to represent no one's interest but that of the people of Lynn, and that's why we're running for Councilor at Large. Throughout the night, I have outlined detailed suggestions and necessary improvements that need to be addressed to move Lynn in a positive direction. Not only will we improve our business community and economy, but we will put Lynn back in the driver's seat and put our residents' interests back to the forefront of decision-making here in this city. We will expand opportunities for our youth with positive initiatives and preventative programs, and we'd be responsible steward of city finances to ensure that we are making smart economic development decisions that create new commercial tax revenue and good-paying jobs for our citizens. We will rewrite zoning laws and make necessary infrastructure improvements to sustain the future development of Lynn. Again, I am Jamie Figueroa, and I am humbly asking for one of your votes for Councilor at Large on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017, so we could put Lynn back in the driver's seat here in the city. Thank you.
Rick Ford.
Leslie, thank you very much. The chamber, thank you. Mr. Suslak, thank you very much. Brian, could we come to breakfast at Little River Inn before Pirates Day? Because I'm stuck working on weekends. I'm stuck working 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, in closing, if elected, I'll pick up where I left off before retirement. I'll work tirelessly to advocate for all the residents of Lynn while helping make Lynn a better place to work, live, and raise a family, as I did. For my entire life, I continually demonstrated citywide pride. I have it on the side of my building, and I'm honored to call Lynn my home. And I don't want you all to forget the small things we do. The picking up the trash for the one person that the trash thing missed, or covering the graffiti because the neighbor calls and tells me their problem. I know it's not the major issues that we've talked about tonight, but there's different reasons. Sitting councilors have called me when I was on, and we did a lot of favors for a lot of people. And so I'm very good at constituent work, and I'll also reach out citywide. So thank you, and I ask for one of your 4 votes. Thank you.
John Ladd.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Leslie and the Chamber for hosting this event tonight, and also Chief Suslak for moderating tonight again, and all the candidates for sharing your vision with me as well. Most importantly, all of the attendees in the room. This year, if elected on November 7th, we realize, and not all naive to the fact that we have some serious obstacles to overcome. I think we can all also agree that no one single person can actually solve all of these problems. It's going to take a mind-abled group and planners to fix all these problems. We need a city council as diverse as our city itself. We need experience, fresh perspective, real estate professionals, business professionals, and we need transparency and an open dialogue between the residents of the city and city government. I respectfully ask on November 7th that I be one of your 4 votes for Councilor at Large. Lucky number 7, Lad for Lynn.
Brian LaPierre.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, for hosting us this evening. Lynn means everything to me. I was born and raised here. I'm raising my family here. My wife teases me that this is the hardest part-time, full-time hour job that I've ever undertaken. But I love this job, and I love working with my fellow colleagues here and in the wards. We try every day. I wake up with a purpose of making an improvement to a Linner's life, and I go to bed knowing that I've hopefully made a difference in one's life. Whether it's constituent service or looking at the big picture items, you have 8 great individuals up here, hardworking folks who are good guys in general, and you only have 4 choices, so it's very difficult. I am number 2 on your ballot on November 7th. I do respectfully ask for one of your 4 votes. I just don't want to be 5th best in this race. I want to be in the top 4 and in the money. So I really do thank everyone for coming out this evening. It's been a wonderful experience, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. If I haven't done so already, please find me on Facebook or my website, lapierforlynn.com. Thank you very much. Great evening.
Hong Net.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Chief. And I'm so honored to sit on this table with this gentleman who cares so much about the city. I'm proud of my accomplishment as a city councilor at large. I created the first human rights commission in the city to make sure everyone have equal rights. I organized the first business quorum for discuss about business loans, and also work with O'Sullivan owner to bring him to the city. I brought all taxi company to work a deal, and I initiated a DPW meeting with a resident about trash ordinance. I also organized the multicultural event, attract 5,000 plus every year to come to Lynn and bring a lot of money. And also I work with elected officials to relocate all voting throughout the city. And if re-elected, I will continue to put my beliefs into action as a fair and advocate for everyone. I will continue to listen to your concern, and your issue is my issue. I just want to let you know. I respectfully ask for your vote on November 7th. My number is number 3. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Madam President, before we wrap? Okay. Thank you, Christine, and the other person, and Anthony, thank you. And again, I'd like to, on behalf of the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. Thank the candidates again. I hope you found this as productive and interesting as I have. I think it's been a great evening. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. That concludes the season program. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.